So it is the first Pride Books Hangout. The book that we are going to discuss today, and the author is here himself, the Broken Amoretti. I would say it truly celebrates the LGBTQ community, and that's what we are here for, celebrating LGBT literature, talking about these stories which have not been, included in the narrative, in the literature of perhaps, at least in Indian literature, it is kind of not there most of the times. People are uncomfortable talking about the community. People are not really kind of willing to include it in the narrative because it's kind of dicey. And we were talking about that with the author as well. That how the authors also kind of they also think twice perhaps sometimes that what kind of responses will come from the community and other people as well, because there is a lack of understanding from either side. It may be the author's side, the community's side. So this hangout is meant for that, to discuss more of that literature. And thank you so much, Sudipto, for agreeing to do this. Coming from Bangalore, we need to be very open about it, and we have always been. Just that in the midst of sort of in the midway, sort of we lost our way. We have a rich heritage of queer relationships in the epics and everywhere. So it is bad to kind of box it, and I'm glad that you have not done it because I mean there are lots of books which are doing that already. So it doesn't make any sense. Like Queeristan, and I was reading a book about gay dating scene, which is doing like #1 on Amazon right now. So it is kind of sensationalism, but again, that helps and not helps at the same time. Anyways, coming back to the book,
the theme about writing about relationships which are little unconventional, right? It comes from 4 lines of a very old Hindi song, which happens to be also Gulsar ji's one of the earlier composition. So have you guys seen that movie called Khamoshi, the old Khamoshi, Rajesh Khanna and Waida Rehman? So there is a song not among Lataji's most famous songs, but it's amazing. The wording goes like this: हमने देखी है उन आंखों की महकती खुशबू, हाथ से छू के उसे रिश्तों का इल्जाम न दो. I think सिर्फ एहसास है ये रूह से महसूस करो, और प्यार को प्यार ही रहने दो, कोई नाम न दो. Of course, the relationship was not platonic, right? At least from Tagore's side, right? He did fall in love with this lady, like, was 35-year-old, few years younger than his youngest son. And then again, when he was in 70s, right, he fell in love with a lady called Ranu Mukherjee, who later became Lady Ranu Mukherjee, and who was 15-year-old. And so he was so Tagore was in his 70s, late 60s, and this girl was 15-year-old. And those letters were published in 90s, I think. So that was when people came to know about this thing, right? Like, if you read the letter, nowhere you can make out that the letters are between a 15-year-old girl and a 65-year-old guy. आज के तारीख में publish होता तो I think jail में चला जाता है. I know in sort of it's like posh, that the Posco Act, right? Like she's a minor and
yes.
So again, I believe it's not saying that all these relationships are good. I mean, some can be exploitative, right? But when they're in the true sense, degrading or demeaning that, whether it's a lesbian relationship or gay, or this relationship between a 65-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl, I think Indian society ka reaction jo hota to lesbianism, I think it might be 100 times more to this relationship between a 65-year-old man and a 15-year-old girl. Right? So I think the inspiration was, it flowed down from that poem by Gulsar ji, and it's all about sort of, relationships happen, right? And if they're with the right passion, and if it is not exploitative, and it is, in the true sense, if it is love, I think let's celebrate that. I mean, there's nothing to feel bad about it, and that's where we all are, right? I mean, we shouldn't be apologetic of anything, right? I mean, if we really feel about it, I mean, of course, there's a thin line between love and lust and so many other things. But I believe, I mean, like you can say that no, so you're 65 or 15, right? This is last horse, right? And you can just brain whitewash everything, right? This is last fool, like guy of 65 years old, like you use all this word turkey and all this, like you can use anything and everything and everything, right? But I think this book is about celebrating all such relationships, and for me, uh, though I'm against giving any name, but if I were to term, I think everything is fair, which is sanctioned by the society. It's a modern depiction of like one mythological aspect in Greek mythology. So we have this character called Artemis and Callisto. I mean, not one of the two of the major characters, right? It appears in Iliad, I believe, by Homer. So interestingly, like Greek mythology has a lot of like male sort of, I mean, gay relationship, right? So lesbian is very interestingly not only in Sanskrit literature but also in Greek. So Greek has all sort of relationships, right? Like Oedipus complex, which is father and daughter, right? And then you have Electra complex, which is mother and son. And of course, I mean, every other character in Greek mythology has incest. Everybody has married his sister, right? So, but interestingly, I mean, when I was researching this book, I figured out that lesbianism is totally absent. Meaning, so these two characters, Callisto and Artemis, I mean, I read in some papers, right? So they have some lesbian strains, meaning like they grow together and then actually they're very good friends, two girls, and they take a vow that they will not marry in their life and they will be for each other, right? So there is no explicit, reference to their love being, a part of lesbian love, right? But so these things are there, and then what is more interesting, there are some very, I would say weird references which you might ignore, I mean, miss. But if you sort of have an investigative mind, you might feel that Homer intentionally actually sort of he left those ambiguities so that somebody can question and then find out the real relationship. Might be lesbianism was not that acceptable in Greece that time, right? While writing this book, I did some study on not Kalidas but overall prosody, right? Like the meter of a poem. So I think we often forget, right? Like because most of the lyrics that we hear, right, they're in very simple like meter, right? So उसमें complexity बहुत कम है. But then there are a lot of like say Kalidas, right? I will just say like sort of the meter that is there, right? It goes like this. Like say. कश्चित् कन्त विरह गुरुना स्वाधिकार प्रमत्त शापे नस्तं गमित महिमा वर्ष भोगेन भरति. If you see it, how it happens? Dum 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 di 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 dum dum di dum dum di dum dum. कश्चित् कन्त विरह गुरुना स्वाधिकार प्रमत्त. So this is called Mandakranta right? The meter, right? So what happens, right? It's like one fit between this Kashchit Kanta Viraha Guruna Swadhikara Pramati is one line or इसको एक पद कहते हैं हिंदी में ये सब. So it's a very big meter, right? And when it goes like this, like dum 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 di 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 dum dum di dum dum di dum dum. So Kalidas के language में, right? But so Mandakranta is actually like it's slowly moving elephant, right? So Mandagati is actually slow moving, right? Slow. So Mandakranta is actually somebody who's moving slowly. So the entire Meghdut was written in this poetry because according to him, right, the love should proceed very slowly. And it's exactly like Dalika में एक line है that कारोबारी फुर्सते so like कारोबारी फुर्सते शौक, like it's like love should be done leisurely, right? And it should be passion and love. ये घर भर में नहीं होती, right? And similarly, the entire very good rhythm was that actually like love should develop slowly, like a slowly moving elephant. Right?
The Broken Amoretti has got multiple layers, multiple relationships again, and at the center of it all is a male character who is surrounded by all these women, and I was at one point I was getting jealous of this guy, because he's like everybody loves him, right? So everybody loves him, although it's slightly complicated, and I won't talk too much about that because without giving any spoilers, I would like to mention some bits like the cousins that already you have mentioned. The cousins are there. There's a girlfriend. The girlfriend is there. She's quite obsessed with the guy, and then the mothers of these characters, the protagonists, the boyfriend and girlfriend are at the center of it all. Without giving any spoilers, because it will spoil the kind of the experience. But that's where the beauty of the book also lies. That subtle sort of platonic, or perhaps not so platonic relationships that you have, beautifully, put on paper.
It has got many characters, but it's very like run of the mill. I mean, campus romance, if I can call it. It is that much more than that, but at the core of it, I love that aspect. It was fun for me.
It's one of a kind because it is not in your face, which I loved about the book.
Lot of research on same-sex marriages and same-sex relationships. So she goes back to the scriptures. She goes way back, and she points out where there are these same-sex relationships in Indian culture and mythology, or not just mythology, in history. Okay, so she just she brings out those aspects and she points out that this is nothing new. In fact, this is not even alien to us. It's not a Western concept that they borrowed. And she has done wide research on this, so it's very interesting. This is one very important genre which I think we should read more of. And recently, I read this book by Saikat Mazumdar, Scent of God. Yeah, and that talks about the same-sex relationship. It's about two boys who study in this monastic boarding school, and then how they fall in love with each other, and they cannot express it outside the school. So they think of ways of getting away from each other, but then they can't. So they again come back to the ashram and they decide to live there because that provides them the safe space to be who they are. So it was very interesting.
As ma'am also mentioned, there are references in past. I just want to put a question in front of everyone for a discussion. That do you think that as a society somewhere we are going backwards? Yeah, because I just wanted to give an example. When you are saying, a thing popped up in my mind that since childhood we used to see Bapu, taking support of two girls, and that was normal for us. Last few years we started seeing those memes that see Bapu is having some attraction towards these girls and everything. So as a society, are we going backwards as far as relationships are concerned?